Hi. Let's see. Hey, can you hear me? Hi.
Hi.
Let's see. Okay, it looks like everything is good so far.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. I can't see your shirt because, I mean, I can see it, but it's so small right now.
It's like everything is good so far.
There's a delay on the audio.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. I can't see your shirt because, I mean, I can see it, but it's so small right now. It's like everything is good. There's a delay on the...
You have to turn down the audio on your side, Tammy. Like, do you have Facebook open in another window?
You have to turn down the audio on your side, Tammy.
Okay, sorry about that. Not sure why it's on. Is that better?
Let's see if I echo. Yeah, it's perfect now.
Sorry about that. I think I had my phone
That's
on.
okay. I always have to do that too. Okay, let's see. Okay. I can exit out of that. Oops. Let's see.
Do you have Facebook open in another window?
Sounds like it's still echoing. Do you have
Another window?
How do I, sorry, I don't know why
Another window?
it's repeating.
do you have, it's either open on your computer or it's on your phone.
Oh, okay, let me see. Sorry.
It's all right. That's why we start. We test. It's all good.
Yeah. Maybe my computer is on. Oh, but that's what it is.
It's on in the background.
Yeah, I think I was looking to see. All right, it should be fine. Okay.
All right, let's test it now. How is it now? Okay, I don't think I hear myself. Perfect. Perfect. How are you doing, Tammy, on this Memorial weekend? I'm actually having a hard time.
Yeah. Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah, I can never tell. Well, just go through some of the memorabilia and pictures and magazines and stories and look at his face.
You do?
That's what I did. A lot of that.
Oh.
Watched concerts, and last night watched Crest concert.
You did?
Yeah, me and my hubby.
I'm just sharing this to Twitter really quick.
You can share it to Twitter Live? Wow.
I think so. Hopefully it'll work.
That is why you are the tech queen, Steph.
Oh, not everything goes perfectly, but I'm glad that I can at least help when I can.
I wonder how I turn off the audio on the face if I want to look at questions, though. Oopsie, how do I shut it off?
I mean, you can still look at the questions as they come in. There just won't be any audio. You'll just have to turn the volume down on your phone.
Okay. I got it volume. Oh, I see. Okay, I got volume off, and I had my phone off with the volume up. I think that's why.
Oh.
That's what it is. Okay.
Let's see.
Ready there?
So, let's see who's watching. Let's see.
Mick Dancer and Joy Elliott.
Oh, great.
Sorry. Thurman Wilkie. Look, sorry. Lisa Brise.
So everyone who's watching so far, we got your questions. There were a lot of questions from last time. How many questions would you say, Tammy, from last time?
I remember them.
That's a lot. That's a lot, right?
15 for sure. A lot of questions.
Yeah, so thank you guys for sending those in ahead of time. We're definitely looking forward to talking to Bill. Let me just double check. Let me make sure everything's okay. All right. Yeah, I put together a couple of videos and posted them to my personal profile page on Facebook, in honor of Michael on Thursday.
Yeah.
And I don't think I did much yesterday on Friday. I caught some of Mick Dancer's 12-hour live stream on Thursday, but it started really early. Like it was started at like 4 a.m. my time. Oh, Bill's here.
Yay!
Yay!
End of the hour.
Yes, right on time.
Oh, could go longer. You never know.
Yeah. Let's see. Thanks everyone for joining us. I feel like this whole weekend has like a completely different feel. You can kind of feel I feel a difference. I feel a lot more like subdued. I'm usually pretty energetic. But it's like a different vibe this whole week, I think.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, when you think about the day where we were at, and watching the memorial, everything. Just all back.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Bill.
Give me a second here. I'm trying to open up my video and
No problem.
I realize what it was now.
Oh, good. Yeah, I have one of those too.
Yeah, I'm sitting here wondering what's going on.
Yeah, sometimes I forget.
Yeah,
but
I was curious.
It's good. It's so good to see you back here again.
How's everybody doing?
Oh, this week is always kind of hard, but I think I'm hanging in there. What about you, Tammy?
Yeah, Oh, there you are, Steph. I can see.
There we are. Yeah, I made us full screen.
You able to make us three people? Three?
Yeah. From my view, it's the three of us.
Okay.
If you go to your gallery view on the top right, you should be able to see all of us.
Okay.
But you have to switch it.
I got it. Yeah.
Can you see both of us, Bill?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect.
Bill, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, it's
As
really
well.
good. Okay. So, all right. So let's get started then. Today is June 27th. It's 2 days after the anniversary of Michael Jackson's passing. And I will say that this is probably, for me personally, this is the first time that I really got to reflect on this day with a lot of other fans. I'm usually kind of like thinking about it on my own. But I'm really glad that you decided to join us today, Bill, because I know it's not easy for you either. But just thinking back to your book, could you share with us maybe usually what you do around this time of the year? Because like my heart stopped when you described how you found out the news of Michael's passing when you were watching TV. That made my heart stop. Could you take us back to that day and let us know sort of what you do now to keep his memory going around this time of the year?
It certainly doesn't feel like 11 years. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
But this time of the year, each year, I get a lot of phone calls, a lot of messages, family, friends asking, am I okay? And honestly, just me, my character, my profession, my just true being, I'm okay. I'm okay in the sense to where, I'm in a security profession. So my mindset for that of which I'm responsible for taking care of, such as when I was with Mrs. Jackson, I had to be strong. There was plenty of times that we were in situations that I felt bad for him, but I could not put myself in that somber vibe because it was expected of me to be in control, to make sure because if I was not in control, I would have handled things a lot differently. I know I would have went off the deep end, or I would have, people that I know that were doing things to him, I would have probably felt somewhat of an obligation of physically handling things. And that's not where I needed to be. So at this time of the year and around the date of his passing, I said it on my Facebook page as well as Twitter. I no longer mourn. I no longer feel sadness. I feel comfort in knowing, yes, I was there, but I feel comfort in knowing that I personally seen times that Mr. Jackson was happy. I personally seen times he laughed, and we just had a laughter about certain moments, and things were funny amongst him and the kids, just hanging out or driving around. I think of those moments, things that he did or said that was funny, just things. And so that's where my comfort is. I don't mourn. I don't mourn. I think of good times. I celebrate. I do this. I still think of just promoting who he was as a man, as a person, as a father. That is my celebration. That is, in promoting him. So, or just promoting the true side of the individual that I knew. So I wouldn't be able to do that if I was in a mourning stage. I just would not be able to think like I'd feel bad about, man, could I have done something different? Could we have done something different? I don't want to do that. I don't want to find myself reflecting on what I could have done anymore. I've done that. Okay, the past, maybe the first 2 to 5 years of his passing, I've done that. I've done the what if, could I, and I no longer do that now. I think about what I can do now, and that is to continue to promote the man and the person and the father that I was blessed to have known.
Yeah.
So
having you today, it's sort of that's what we're here about today with you. It's we've discussed your book, and today it's about your celebration of him. And if you want to share anything with us, we have all kinds of questions from the fans from previous, but we would just love to.
Well, I'll tell you, it kind of bothers me a little bit that I was not the only one there. Okay, I was not the only one that knew him. Okay, there's plenty of people. I'll say plenty. There was a few people that was inside the circle that knew him well enough that they could share some moments, and it bothers me that I don't see that. I hear from a lot of different fans and a lot of different people writing books that may not have never met him, but they're continuing on the legacy. And it bothers, if anything that bothers me is knowing that there are other individuals that should be coming forward and just speaking on his behalf, whether it's other celebrities, they should be speaking up and they're not.
Yeah.
And that bothers me.
I always thought that was strange. I know that, I was talking to my friend about this, and, Michael is just strangely blacklisted here, especially in the US. And as many celebrities that there were that spent time around him and got to enjoy his life and got to touch his life in some way, you don't hear them saying anything at all. And so actually that leads right to my first question. And we have a couple questions,
Sure.
You just let us know when you need to go, but we're going to try to get through them. So the first question we had, and you touched on it a little bit during our last interview, but who would you say around that time, besides you, because you were a true friend to Michael, but based on your observations, who were Michael's true friends during those last 2-3 years?
Chris Tucker, Eddie Griffin.
Oh, wow.
Jesse Jackson.
I have seen interviews with Eddie Griffin talking about Michael, really genuine stories about him.
The Casio family. As for on the true deep other celebrities that were, there was no one. A lot of them were, I believe, a lot of them were kind of caught up in the media things that were being said.
Yeah.
If you're one of these high profile celebrities and you get paid by some of these huge companies, and some of these companies are speaking negatively about Mr. Jackson because they pay you, people will not find them coming out speaking on his behalf. They'll just speak on his music. But a lot of these people knew him personally because a lot of these people have been around him and his kids. But for them not to want to speak up on his personal character, to even just to come out and just say, no, that's not him. That's not who he was. They'd be going against the corporations that pay them, the newspapers and all that they want to look good in. So I see that, and
that makes sense.
It really just goes back to, when I, again, at the funeral, at his memorial, and I seen all these people that really bothered me. I said, these are not friends of Mr. Jackson.
Mm,
These were associates of the King of Pop.
yeah, that's a good way of
And
putting it.
so, but a lot of them, he's welcomed into his home,
Mhm.
and a
It
lot
doesn't
of them
matter.
brought their kids to Neverland and played around and enjoyed the festivities, but they won't speak on why. Some may have, but
Yeah,
the more high profile ones just don't speak on the true man that he was. And they know who he was or who he was not. They know, but
yeah, I would agree with that. Here's a question from Nancy Sarante from one of our book club members. Do you have any contact with his family today?
it's been several years. If there was anyone that I would be in contact with, it would be his kids, his immediate family, as his brothers and sisters. We did not have that recall. They were not around much, if at all, a time that I was on my watch. But as for where Prince, Paris, and Biggie is concerned now, no, it's been a couple of years since I've been in touch with them.
Okay. Here's a question from Donna Holmes. Did your daughter ever meet Michael Jackson? I know there was a time where she didn't know who you were working for,
Right.
and that was hard. Did she ever get to meet him?
No, she never got to meet him, but she did get a chance to speak to him on the phone. It was around the time when the first iPhones came out that Mr. Jackson was sent several devices of iPhones. He was sent about 12 of them, and he gave some to the staff, some to his family, well, myself and Javon, and his family. And he said to me, "Bill, do you think your daughter would like one?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, she would love it." So I gave her a phone, and she was happy, and she wanted to thank him. So I called him up one night and just said, "Mr. Jackson, my daughter would like to thank you for the phone." So he said, "Sure." So she got on the phone with him, and they spoke, and then she was, certainly thankful and appreciative of him for the phone. He was asking how old she was and what did she want to do when she got older. It was quick, but she did speak to him. She never met him, but it was a quick phone introduction and being thankful for the phone that he gave her, which she still has. It was the first, matter of fact, she and I both have the original that he gave us. It was the first iPhone that came out.
And they were sent to him as a gift, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
How old was she at the time again?
She was in 11th grade. I think she was 15 maybe.
Oh, she must think that's pretty cool now too,
No.
to have her iPhone from Michael Jackson. She must have.
Yeah. I mean, we both do. I mean, again, every so often, I will, I have it in a safe and where other valuables are, and every so often I'll go in and see and just look at it and like, wow. So,
Wow.
but
Crazy to have.
it's cool. It's cool. So again, I think of things like that when it comes time and date of his passing. I think of the good times. So that's my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Here's another question from Donna Holmes. This one was funny to me. You're very strict when it comes to referring to Michael as Mr. Jackson. You always say Mr. Jackson, and I think that's something a lot of people notice. Was there ever a moment you slipped up and called him Michael or Mike?
Never.
Oh,
Never.
I believe that.
Never.
How do you think he would take it?
You know what? To be honest, I remember there was a time that he did say that he did. I think he did say something that you can call me Michael, but no, there was a level of respect that was warranted, and also this was not personal. I may have been his personal security, But when it comes to doing personal security, that means you handle personal things for that individual. But it's still business. I still had a job to do. I still had an image to maintain of being professional.
Yeah.
So calling him Mr. Jackson was certainly a sign of respect, but also that was warranted. But we also, from time to time, we called him boss amongst each other. We didn't say his name in public or speaking to each other frequently. We would always refer him to, the boss wants this, or the boss needs this, or the boss needs said that. We would never say his name.
Right.
We were just also just being very mindful of where we were and his level of notoriety, that anything was possible. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we use bug detectors and scanners and hidden device detectors on a regular, because there were people out there that tried. And so the level of respect was something that made calling him Mr. Jackson was just routine, and it's the same level of respect that I have today. Every so often I have found myself saying, Michael Jackson, but the level of respect remains for him to call him Mr. Jackson, because he was someone that I did work for.
Right.
So we have another question here, if that's okay. Can I give?
Please.
Okay. This one's from Jane Bloom Johnson. So, did he have a disciplined routine for reading, or was it just when he had an opportunity? Good question.
I can only answer that based on what I've seen. And I didn't, other than the kids, I don't know, is that question being asked on him reading or his kids reading?
She says he, but
he was a big reader. I mean, huge. We went to Barnes and Noble's bookstores, regularly, and he would purchase a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of books, and he purchased books as though he knew he was going to be secluded.
Mm.
And he read a lot of books.
Yeah.
He was a big reader, and which he often used words that I'd never heard of.
Right.
He was good for that, and he's made that comment to us that he's said things to me before. I don't know if I said it to you at the last interview, when he once told me that he needed me to go to the airport and pick up the governess.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what he was talking about. I said, the governor's coming? He said, no, the governess. The governess. I'm like,
yes.
Governess.
And most people wouldn't use that term, really, right?
Yeah, that's the term he used. And I governess. And he said, and he's like trying to describe, he said, someone that helps take care of the kids. I said, a nanny? So he said, yeah, but they do more than that. And that's when he said, you guys need to read more. And
yeah.
You got that from the Peter Pan book.
So he used a lot of terms that came from self-education,
right.
Self-taught, self-learning. And he was a huge reader.
Yeah.
Huge reader. The kids as well. You can tell in their mannerism. Morning, Bill. Things that they would say, and the way they spoke, with such clarity and such, you would think people or kids that were not around a lot of other kids, or with not going through the whole school system like a lot of kids go to on a day-to-day basis, and that was really just amongst themselves and their father and a few other people, you would think that their vocabulary would be less than that of so many that are in the school system. No, very smart, very articulate. I mean, Prince would ask me questions, Bill, do you know how many moons are in the solar system?
Oh.
Don't be asking me those,
Wow.
like, no, I don't know. He knew these things, like, he would ask, he knew things, just, history-wise, and it's just like, and that came from certainly the reading and the educational structure that Mr. Jackson had set forth for them. And I see it in them today, just the way they talk and carry themselves.
You hear that? Yeah, he was a teacher of children. He recommended books to the Cassios.
Absolutely.
Book club, we always try to find out which books did he recommend to people to read, and we know of various books that he would recommend from Frank's book or whatever. Just so he seems to be a teacher of friends, and he taught them about mind maps and all these really positive things. You know, trying to be a role model. So I can imagine what he would have taught his own kids. It would have been.
There was 2 books he recommended to me. One was a book called Secrets.
Oh, The Secret.
The Secret.
The Secret. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
The Secret. Yes. And I'm sorry, offhand, I can't tell you what the other one was. I'm not a big reader.
That's okay.
That's a
I'm not
good
big
one,
reader.
though.
That's a good one. He seems to be about
But that was one.
positive.
But he did read several types of books, different types.
Right.
But he did recommend that one book at one time, so I didn't.
Oh, that's awesome to hear from another source. I read that in a book as well, that he had recommended The Secret. But so I have another question here. This is different though. It says, this is also from Jane William Johnson.
Yeah.
Would he record with Brad Buxer late at night? When you were there, did you hear when he and Brad Buxer would record new songs?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time. Brad was another friend, but I think more of a business, but they certainly hung out long enough to I like to think they were friends. Oh yeah, Brad come through and they hit the studio easily. Brad could come get there at 2:00 in the afternoon and be there till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So, oh yeah, we've heard them do various music sets, and there was a lot of new music, a lot of new sounds that they'll certainly have some of the older music that they did together, but there was a lot of new music. So yeah, we did hear a lot of the music. We heard a lot of the dancing, because our security trailer was right next to the studio that we built for him.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Because he had a large room in the basement that we went out and brought wood flooring and wood panels that we put throughout the whole basement. We put mirrors up around the whole bed, around all the walls, and we made it soundproof.
In the basement of the house, he was, and which house was it?
That was the Monte Cristo house.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Victor wants to know if you ever saw him dance, like actually saw him just bust a move.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. All the time.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He would do that. There's several times that we've been out and we'd be walking, and if we was in a mall somewhere and his music would come on, and he would start to moving, making the noises with his mouth, and he'll start bobbing his head, and he'll bust a quick move sometimes. He was fine with that. And we're like, and I'll tell you what was crazy about that was, here we are, me and my team, we're trying to stay low key, okay? And we're trying to, if there's some people that see us, some people are looking like wondering, is that Michael Jackson? Nah, that wouldn't be him. Nah, is it? So they weren't sure, and we was cool with you not being sure if that's him, because if you're not sure, you may not run up on us. Cool. But now here he go, start busting these moves, and he's giving it away, and we're like, I want to tell him to stop, but you don't tell Michael Jackson to stop dancing. Like he would just, he'll bust a quick one of them, put quick little moves, and you're looking around like wondering if anybody sees. He's just in the mood, and it was just him. But other than that time, certainly we've seen him in his studio doing his thing, because the studio had a window that we was able to see in from the outside. And there was times that he would see us standing outside, and you tried to ignore it. You tried. I mean, I tried to walk past the studio sometimes, and I'll see him in there doing their thing and dancing, but you know, you're in security, you're on point, but you're supposed to be able to look and keep it moving. That wasn't easy. You know what I'm saying?
And
it wasn't easy.
he totally gave himself away, definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So another question here from Amy Denker. So did you ever talk on the phone to fans that you're aware of?
I've had fans get my number from the management office in DC. There was some fans that he did have a relationship with, a rapport, Betty. I don't say relationship. He had a rapport with that over the years, there were some individuals that he became closer to, and that was able to reach out to the management office, reach out to security, and get on the phone. And I would, but the management office knew who those fans were. Okay. Other than that, they wouldn't patch them through. And I would tell Mr. Jackson, I have the office on the line. They want to patch in this particular individual, and he'll say, "Oh, yeah, I know who that is." And so he would speak to him.
And the phone, so you would have to make the arrangements for the phone calls.
Well, the phone calls came from, again, they didn't have my number. No one had my number. Right. You'd reach out to his the manager. I was Ramon Bain's office and out of DC. Yeah. So people reached out to her.
And then to you, and then Michael got the phone. It's not like he had, again, Correct. He didn't have a phone. He didn't really
he didn't have a phone.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So with that, her other question was, did he receive the gifts that the fans sent him?
Yes. Okay. Yes, he did receive everything. It got to a point in time, I had set up a PO box in town where a lot of things was diverted to that box. A lot of things that was being sent to Neverland and sent to the DC office was diverted to the PO box. A lot of the mail, but there was some mail that was dropped off at the house, certainly, and we would go through the mail, scan it, read it, bad or good. But there were some things, people have to understand, as for as many fans as Mr. Jackson has, there were individuals that felt otherwise. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it was my job to do the best I could to protect him from those individuals, because I knew how fragile he was when it came to receiving negative news. Aww. Okay, his mood was easily switched if there was some negativity. So a lot of fans, a lot of gifts, teddy bears, dolls, trinkets, jewelry, handmade stuff, drawings that people made and sent in. And there was a room designated for all this stuff. There was just so much stuff that we had to designate a room. So he did receive everything. Mm-hmm. As for when he went through these things, it was on his time. I do know every so often he would grab a bunch of letters and we'd take those rides, and he wants to read his mail. Like, it became routine to where he would say, Bill, I want to go, he wanted to take a ride. I knew that was fan mail reading time. Okay, so we would grab a shoebox full of letters and we would just drive. Yeah. Sometimes we would just park somewhere, park by a waterfall in the areas, but just take long rides. We've driven as far out, while in Las Vegas, we've driven as far out to Arizona, toward the Hoover Dam. So we've driven, just drive, because we knew it would be a straight drive, no traffic, no lights, so way up out of town.
And sometimes he would even take gifts and letters from fans directly, right?
Oh, like that was regular. Any fans, that was it, and scary. Yeah. I must say.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
There was an interesting story in your book about some female fans. I won't mention it. I'm not going to give it away, but I thought it was interesting. There were some special gifts sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some special gifts. There was pictures.
Yeah.
There were pictures that fans would hand him.
And
they let it be known.
Yeah.
Like naked ones?
I'm sorry?
Tell me.
What are you saying?
Are you saying naked pictures or what do you
Yes.
mean? Oh.
Yeah.
I'm so sure what you're talking about. I'm going to say it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, we know what the fans are like. We know.
I mean, we could tell. We didn't see them. He didn't show them to us.
Wonder what his expression was like.
Look at that. But you can tell, when he's reading something and he blurts out with the, oh, wow, So we're like, but we were told, I think Grace had told us that, those pictures that the boss got? Yeah. Them girls didn't have any clothes on? Oh my. So we're like, but he got those. And there was one time, some of those same fans, and I believe the young lady that gave him that picture of her birthday suit. We was waiting to. He was buying a new limousine. Yeah, he was buying a new limousine, and an SUV limousine. And the guy brought it by the house to do a test drive or just to ride around in it. And when the truck came and we came out the side door, a couple of young ladies that was outside the house, he said, "You want to go for a ride?" And they was like, "Sure." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" But sometimes we had to put our guard down just enough, but also be prepared to handle what we needed to handle. But you never knew, but he was comfortable enough to invite, if there was 3 young ladies, he said, "You want to go for a ride?" No, he said, "You want to go for some ice cream?" That's what it was. And they was like, "Sure." They jumped in the car and they in the back seat. I'm in the passenger seat up front. And the guy who brought the vehicle over, he was driving. Javon got in the back as well with him and the girls. And it was a lot of room, very roomy. And they just talked. They just talked about music. When you're going to make another album? When you're going to do another video? They just talked. They just had that kind of conversation. So it was that was him just, reaching out and had these young ladies just jump in the car like that. Nerve-wracking for security services, but that was him.
So to be clear, did you say that those girls, one of them was the one with the pictures?
Oh yeah, one of them was.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's what it takes.
Yeah. That was one. Yeah, one of them was her. Yeah.
Tammy's asking the questions that matter. Okay.
No, it's funny that it was worth it, I mean, for her to go to that, that's a brave thing that she did. Anyway.
Listen,
yeah.
Their fans, as you young ladies are, they were very dedicated, is where I seen it. Very adamant. They were not pushy, respectful, caring, as you start to see it. I've worked with several celebrities before, but I've never seen anything like this. And my first thing was safety. And because that's just insecurity, it's just how I felt. But the more and more these young ladies and certain individuals were around, they became friends. They became people that I not only trusted, but respected, that they would let me know. Just want to let you know, they would tell us that there's a paparazzi over here or down there or down the street. They're showing up, and I'm like, okay, they would give us a heads up, things like that. If there was new fans that came around that none of them knew, because a lot of the fans that came to the house and stayed outside the house, they knew each other or got to know one another. Mm-hmm. If there was new faces that they were not familiar with or didn't like the vibe or the aura of certain individuals, they let us know.
Wow.
So I mean, it's hot in Vegas. It's one, I believe it's 100.
It's
It's
that
10
dry heat.
It's 104. Yeah, but it's still hot. Okay, it's 104 right now.
Wow.
It was like this, or maybe even hotter, in some of those summer months that fans would be outside the gate, and they would be out there all day.
Oh my God.
It's hot, and certainly times that he would direct us to bring bottles of water out there,
Mm.
bring plates of food. He would tell us to go buy some sandwiches. I never forget. I went one time to Subway, and I may have spent about $500 in buying those foot-long subs, and just passed them out to everybody that was outside.
Yeah.
That was under his direction.
He
So
cared about his
Wow.
fans. Yeah, absolutely. It was a mutual thing. Fans protected him and still do.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh,
they were
absolutely.
very
Yeah.
protective. Very
Yes.
protective. Here's a question from Twitter from Gabby. So since we were just talking about the girls, I'll just get these out of the way then. It seems like we kind of think that Michael was a true romantic, maybe. Did he ever mention wanting to get married again? And the girls that he went on casual dates with, do you think he was ever serious about any of them? Did he ever talk about wanting to get married? What was your impression?
I can't speak on whether he wanted to get married again, because that's the conversation we've never had. So I don't know. He and I never had that conversation.
Mhm.
The friendship or relationship he carried on with the young ladies that I witnessed, and certainly have been privy to the conversations and the way they carry themselves around each other. It just sounded like companionship.
Mm.
That's what it just really just sounded like. It just sounded like the normalcy he wanted out of having a normal conversation. I mean, we all, I would like to think, yearn to have a conversation outside of ourselves, or outside of, his being a celebrity as high as he was. He was always treated like the king of pop.
Right.
And I think he wanted to have a conversation, or just have some form of companionship with someone. And again, I'm only speaking upon from what I witnessed and having heard their conversations. And their conversations did not entail marriage or love. They hung out, they talked, and like, it just seemed like the way you would act. I won't even want to say high school love. I want to say going further back to almost middle school. So it just seemed like that. A lot of giggles, and laughing, and it just sounded like that puppy love. Like this was new to him.
Yeah.
Just that's what it just sounded like. But on the marriage thing, no, we never had that conversation. The friends and the young ladies that he spent time with, it sounded like something just companionship and a trustworthy friendship, and that was all I can really speak on that.
That sounds like him.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have another question from Fleur. Did Michael ever pull a prank on you? Because we know that was definitely him. He pulled pranks on other people, but did he ever pull a prank on you?
Yes.
Okay. You have to tell us.
Well, other than, okay, I'll speak on another one time, but one time that he pulled on us, he said, Bill, do you want some chicken? And he just was like, yeah, we want some chicken. And ordered a bunch of chicken. And the chicken came, and he said that, he said, oh, you're going to love this chicken. You're going to love it. It's the best chicken. And he ordered it, or had it ordered from Wingstop. Okay, have you heard of Wingstop?
Yeah.
And he kept telling me about this chicken. It is the best chicken, and the best flavoring, better yet. And I'm, okay, whatever. And the chicken came and went inside, and he prepared it on a plate. He put because I knew there was nobody else inside but him and the kids. So the chicken came and, it was ordered in the bags. We brought the bags inside with everything. He prepared it he took a plate out of the cabinet or whatever. He got the chicken. He put some fries on the side, and there was some the celery and carrots that came on the side with it. I don't know if you ever had this chicken before. I think it's called Atomic.
Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had it from Wingstop. I'll let you tell it.
There's just no way you can eat that chicken.
I literally rinsed it off
Had to.
so I could eat
And
it.
here it is, we was outside, we was at the security trailer. We're like, yo, the boss made us some plates. So we got the plates, went inside, sat down at the trailer. We start eating this chicken and we're looking at each other and we are burning up. I mean, this chicken was so spicy, so hot. I don't think I finished one.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering to myself, did he meant to do this? And I'm like, and so later on that evening, we did go out. And first thing he said when he got in the car, he said, hey, did you guys like the chicken? I said, he said, did you eat it? Could you take it? Could you take it?
The fact that he put it on the plate.
That joke on me, I had some choice words to say to them.
Yeah.
But I had to, and we acted like, yeah, Mr. Jack, it was cool. It was good. It was good. We knew it was a joke when Grace told us about it later. Okay. Grace told us about it. She said, so did the boss play a trick on you guys? What are you talking about? Did he send y'all something? Okay, well now we know. Okay, yeah, he did that on purpose because he knew it was going to burn us up, and it did. It was hot.
The fact that he made a whole big thing about it, putting it on the plate, laying it out, that was suspicious.
Yes, he set it up. He set it up. It was, he set it up. It was cool.
Wow, that is so funny.
He was good for hiding sometimes.
Oh.
He was good for hiding sometimes. Like times we had an itinerary during the week. We had an itinerary for him, who he's going to speak to, when he's going to speak to him, where he had to go, where we're going to meet him at. So we had a big itinerary for him during the week, certain things. And it was one time we were supposed to leave the house at a certain time. We were waiting for him to come out, and he didn't come out. And I would say about 15 minutes had gone by, get a little worried, and knock on the door, Mr. Jackson, he's not answering. He's not answering. Go inside. Kids are there. Where's your daddy? They like, we don't know. What do you mean you don't know? We don't know where he's at. We're calling his name out in the house. We're searching the house. Okay, we're searching the house now. We don't know where he's at. Now we're worried. Okay, yes, we get worried. Like, I'm not going down in history as the man that lost Michael Jackson. That cannot happen. So we searched throughout the house. He was in a room. It was a secret room that he had in one of the closets. There's a door that looked like part of the wall. And when you closed it, you couldn't tell. He was in there just hiding. Wanted to see what we was going to do. So.
Wow.
Yeah, that was him.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't go see.
That's so crazy. So one last question from this section. So you guys used to take a lot of long car rides for reading fan mail and other reasons, but I know that he used to play classical music in the car, and he'd have you go to the store and buy a bunch of classical CDs. Did he ever talk to you about his love of classical music, and were there certain songs that he would have you play in the car, like songs that he always picked that you can remember?
I've often wondered why he played a lot of classical music. Sometimes, yeah, we did have the radio on and listen to some of the updated, upbeat music, but majority of the time that we did make long rides, he wanted to hear classical music. I started, as much as I was around him, and I started to feel, I could be wrong, I started to feel that he enjoyed the instrumental side of things. He was very, we all use the word, he was a musical genius, but I think we use it lightly. he was a musical genius, a musical wizard, because there was times in which he would play music and he would ask us, he would say, do you hear that? You hear that? And we'd be like, no. He said, play it back, play it back. And we'll play back something and he'll play it again. He'll go right there, right there. Do you hear it? Do you hear? We did not hear it.
Wow.
Honestly, we did not hear what he was hearing. And
some little nuance in the song.
Yes, just whatever. We did not hear it. I was told by an individual that he once worked with. They said Michael Jackson can see notes. You know, we hear them. They said he can see them. And there was times that music was playing and you would see him just doing this, you know, like it was though he was playing a piano that was in the air.
Wow.
So when we see him doing things like this, yes, his level of music, or from what I was able to see, and his concentration of it was just, I think it's what helped him become the person and musician that he was. That just, I've never seen it before, and we will probably never see it again. He was, again, if he's seen music, he's often talked about there has to be other sounds out there. Like we've heard the drum, we've heard the piano, we've heard the trumpet. There has to be other sounds, and that's what he was reaching for. And I think that, you know, he was able to create these sounds, whether it was in his voice, whether it was in just the way he created music. He was a perfectionist. I've heard him in the studio. I've watched him in the studio at times, and he would have the engineer play something. He'd say, no, don't play like that, play like this. And to everyone else, that sounded fine. But he's like, no. And we're like, he's reaching for another sound. And that's what we got from him. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Always trying to do something that has never been done before.
Absolutely.
I think that's another reason why he loved magic too. Did you? This is another question from Fleur. Did he know any like illusionist tricks or magic tricks with cards or other kinds of materials? Because he'd go to the magic shops with you.
He did. We did. We went to a magic shop several times.
Mm-hmm.
We've been to magic shows. I mean, he was a good friend of David Copperfield. So went to those shows. He's even, from what I understand, he's even was creator or had creative input in a lot of magic shows.
Wow.
But no, he didn't play any or do anything with us, you know, the team when it came to magic tricks like that. But yes, we did go to a lot of magic shops, and he did buy some of those magic kits that you can do magic with. Mm-hmm. So I like to assume that he did things like that with his fans. I'm sorry, not his fans, but with his kids. Mm-hmm. But what I found strange was he would, when we're out and about public, he'd meet somebody, whether it's a little kid or whoever. I know candy used to just appear in his hands. I've seen that before. I've seen him shaking hands with people, and all of a sudden, he didn't even put his hand in his pocket. I've seen candy, he'll just shake his hand, and then all of a sudden, he's handing you a piece of candy.
Aw, to a little kid.
Oh.
So I've seen that, and we'll look at each other like, where the fuck did you get that candy from? You'll say so, because we didn't.
Oh, we love that.
We didn't, you know, he liked candy, certainly, but he didn't even go in his pocket. So it was just, he's done things like that made us wonder, you know, what.
That's so cute. Oh, I love that.
He was good for that. He was good for handing out candy. He didn't give his candy in a heartbeat. Oh, yeah.
Oh, he did love it from a kid. Tammy, I have one more question in this section. Sorry, I looked at the page wrong. Okay, another question from Fleur. The Ebony Vogue photo shoot, that was like so glamorous and so amazing. He was
Yeah.
like in his element, right? You remember that?
Yes.
So he had a stylist at the time named Rushka Bergman, and she styled his kids recently in the last couple years, and she's pretty well known. Do you know what kind of relationship he had with Rushka? Because it seems like they knew each other for a while, and some people think that they dated, and we want to know if you have any information on that.
You mean the Italian Vogue?
Italian Vogue.
That was Italian Vogue.
Yes.
Yeah, Ebony.
And Ebony. They were
Ebony
separate.
shoot. Those, yeah, the two different shoots, right?
I didn't know if she was the stylist for both or just one, just Italian Vogue, right? Italian.
Well, she was a stylist just for the Italian Vogue.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'll be honest with you, other than been there and watched her do what she do at that time,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much of her or anything else.
Okay, that's okay. You're up, Tammy.
Okay, so I've got a question for you from Cheryl Cook. Why didn't they do a background check on Dr. Murray before bringing him to Las Vegas that first time?
Dr. Murray was from Las Vegas, first off. Because when you say a background check, he was a very well-known cardiologist.
Right.
So he was known, and he came with a good reference, and he came with the word of mouth that the individual that he came from was someone that was well trusted. So,
and he was a good cardiologist, I guess,
yes.
right?
So he was a good doctor. As far as people knew, he had several clinics in town that we were aware of, and he did a lot of charitable work that we was aware of. But again, he came with a good reference. He came with a good word of mouth, and so that's where that part.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good. Yeah. Got another question from Ian Zenner. So he says, hey, Bill, what was it like when you drove Michael to Wonderland? Did you sense any pressure Michael had of the AEG when you guys arrived?
This was the house. I love that house.
His Wonderland house. Did you sense it?
We just knew that was the home he wanted. We knew that was the home that he was prepared to call home. Because we know he wanted a home.
Yeah.
I mean, it was even at one time he wanted a home so bad, and I think he wanted a home so bad for his kids that he even said to me, Bill, find us a home. I need a home for my kids. Please find us a home. Now, I wouldn't even know where to start to try to find him the kind of home that he wanted. I just wouldn't know where to start. I really didn't. But we put the word out there, and a few suggestions came through, and the Wonderland house did come through, that we did visit several times. But no, there was no pressure at the time from any other entities at that time. I felt that this was something that he was going to do. So
okay.
It was something that we really wished had gone through.
Yeah.
But unfortunately.
Okay, so we have another couple questions in this section. So Marie Place. Bill, do you have any comments you could make on Tomei Tomei? He is a figure in Michael's life whose role and intentions are hard to understand. Do you think he, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'll just finish. I'll just after.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, so he said, do you think he trusted, had good, oh, sorry, that was a different question. No, okay, yeah, that's it. So do you have any comments about Tomei Tomei? He's a figure in Michael's life whose role is hard to understand his intentions.
For me, I keyed in on when Mr. Jackson spoke of someone, or if he didn't, I keyed in on if he said something that made me cautious, made me think twice, about this individual. He never spoke on Tome on a negative light. Well, at least not to me. I didn't hear that part. So I really don't have anything to speak on that relationship. All I knew, it was strictly business and professional, and I left it there. I didn't want to find myself concentrating too much on his business relationships when I knew there were other threats out there that I needed to be mindful of. So anyone that he allowed into the bubble that he allowed around his kids and allowed into his home, I kind of dropped my guard on, so I didn't pay too much of attention to that.
Right. Yeah, if he trusted them. And
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so another question is from Marie Place. Do you think he had a good relationship with Peter Lopez? Not sure.
He and Peter loved each other. They had a great relationship, very caring. Peter Lopez was one of the individuals that would give routine phone calls, texts. Mr. Jackson, how are you doing? How's the kids? Happy birthday. He gave a lot. It was more personal. Yes, he was his attorney, or one of, but I can tell there was a genuine concern, love for each other there. Mr. Lopez really cared about Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson trusted him entirely. I mean, he was the one that, when the whole "this is it" came about, and I was not aware or did not have a real rapport with the new AEG team, my communication was through Peter Lopez.
Okay.
Peter Lopez was the one that would call me, "Bill, where you guys at? Michael needs you guys in LA." But at the time, we were still trying to do our negotiation with AEG to ensure our contract situations would be handled correctly. You know, if jumping on the road was something, because I knew once I left my home and being a single father, I knew that once I got on the road, this was not no 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be back in a few hours. No, I knew. So I needed to be sure that once we got on the road and wheels was up, that family-wise, financially, I was going to be in a good position.
Yeah.
But my negotiating and communicating was through Peter Lopez. And I mean, that, I'll be honest with you, that is the moment, because I knew what was leading up to that. I knew that something wasn't right. And I could hear it in Peter's voice. I just knew, but I knew their relationship was tight, and he was someone that I trusted. And he was someone that stayed in Mr. Jackson's corner through and through. And that's a whole circumstance that I have different thoughts on, of what may have not happened to Mr. Lopez.
Right.
So.
Stephanie, you can go ahead with your section.
Okay. All right. From Ann Kavanaugh. How is it working? Now, I don't know a lot about your book process other than you went to multiple publishers, but how is it working with Tanner Colby, who was your champion at Random House Canada?
Tanner Colby's a great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. One of, or if not the only writer that believed in the project.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had several projects that he'd been dealing with at the time, several other book authors, publishers that he'd been dealing with. He stopped everything and dedicated himself to our project.
Wow.
Where from Canada is he from? I'm just curious.
Well, Tanner Colby was more instrumental on the U.S. publication.
Oh.
Okay, but he certainly, I mean, the publication that came out of Canada, certainly he was the writer on that, but that just two different publishers.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I'm so glad that you did find a publisher, or else we wouldn't have had the story.
You would have got it somehow.
Yeah, that's
You'd have got
good.
it somehow. Yeah,
That's
you got
good.
it somehow.
All right. So last time when you talked to us, you revealed that the film was actually supposed to be 4 hours long.
Right.
Did you, when you released the book, did you ever get any, okay, when you cut some of the scenes from the film, was it just a personal production choice from the production, or were you getting outside pressures, maybe from the estate, Raymond Bain? That was a question that came from Anne Kavanaugh as well. She was curious.
Okay. No, that was all financial.
Okay.
That was all financial. We couldn't afford, budget-wise, we couldn't afford. I mean, we didn't get a very huge budget for this movie. We really didn't. I mean, it's just, it's a shame. It's really a shame that people still, when I say people, media-wise, tabloid-wise, they still want the negative. They still want that. They want to hear about drugs and kids and pedophilia and drugs. They still want that. And that is something that my book did not give. That, so therefore, that is not what the movie gave. So therefore, the production on it, the financial budget for it just wasn't as big as it normally would have been. You know, I understand a lot of money was spent on them two dudes, that on that Leaving Neverland thing. I mean, there was so many people that wanted to hear that negative, because that was the almost the negativity is what sells.
Mm-hmm. Well,
You know,
and a lot of financial backing on that.
Controversy sells, and people tuned into that. I mean, HBO picked it up, Oprah picked it up, but when it came to our book and our movie, you don't see Oprah picking it up.
No.
We sent Oprah a copy of our book when it first came out. We sent a copy of this book, our book, to damn near every major news station.
Wow.
And again, I was told straight up from an ABC individual, Bill, it's a great book. People loved it. People cried, but it almost makes Michael Jackson seem normal. So it's like, yeah, okay, so what's wrong with that? That's not what they wanted. They wanted to continually to feed into the negativity that's always been produced on him. So, I mean, it just,
wow.
Again, just, answering that question, I hope I answered it. And I apologize sometimes. I find myself, you'll ask me a question and I may answer the question, I may continue on because there's so much more to that question.
No, it's perfect. The way you answer is perfect.
Sure. And I just, reflecting back on things, is just, there's so much more. There's so much more to be said. There's so much more that I've seen and I've gotten to know about Ms. Jackson that I want to share. I want people to know. I want to keep doing this. This is my celebration, to talk about him in that light,
And a second book. And a second book.
You know what? It's so weird. I've reached out to Tanner Colby, and we want to see if we can, how much more is there. But again, some of the stuff we have to be mindful of, because a lot of publishers and outlets just are not interested in the positive side or the lack of the side of telling dirt. They want to hear that. Like when I hate to keep going back there, but when I watched that, was it Leaving Neverland? Whatever that thing, when I heard and I'm listening to these guys tell their stories about, well, he did this, we had sex every day. I'm like, people like this shit? Like, sorry, excuse my friend, but people who get out of here. Like, that's what people want to hear. And that's what irks me, See, I have on one side, you hit a fan such here and now asking questions about the normalcy side of him. But on the tabloid side, they want to hear about drugs and children and they want to hear. It's like something's got to change here, and we need his fans to continue to ask these questions and push this out there. Absolutely. Because my original, if you'll recall, my original interview on ABC News was a 2-part series. Oh. With Ashley Banfield. There was we did Good Morning America.
Yeah.
Okay. The Good Morning America interview was a 2-part series, and they said that's something that's never been done. And their expectation, if you could, that interview is on YouTube now, and one of the first questions or one of the first statements that Ashley Banfield said when she introduced us, she said that she was expecting us to trash Mr. Jackson. That's what her expectations was. She thought we were going to just trash him. And she said, but she was amazed that it was the complete opposite. So that's what the news tabloids was expecting. They was expecting us, here was Mr. Jackson's bodyguards, closest to him at the time, to come out and speak negatively and to verify and to speak on stories that's been out there about him. And when we did not do that, we've never been called back.
Right. Well, you didn't sell your stories. It's not for money. It's you were,
correct.
Just that.
I just wish it was something that they wanted. I mean, I would love. I mean, the fans is what helped the book sales. I mean, all these celebrities that may or may not heard of the book, they didn't purchase this book. They don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. So maybe they don't know about it. I mean, I've met family and friends now that told me they never heard of the book or heard of the movie.
Oh, Lord.
100 years from now, people will be studying your book, Bill. This will be academic study.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
No, I hope so. I just wish we was able to get that one major TV interview with ABC News and let the world know there's another side of Mr. Jackson out here that.
And now's the time, maybe, because now this year it's like we're learning, with Leaving Neverland and debunking all of that mockumentary. And,
right.
When you say
mockumentary,
that's what we call it.
Or whatever.
Okay, I like that.
100% Joy Robson said in her testimony in 2005 that they only physically went to Neverland with Michael there 4 times in 14 years, right? And it's like, so we know all of the lies. And, this is the year you see Netflix series like Trial by Media, things like that.
Right.
Like, it's his time to really look at the slanted media and to get that out there. Like people.
Okay, they went after what the media wanted, and that was who was going to pay them.
Yeah.
We're going to get paid to sell our bullshit. If that's where your soul is, if you're prepared to sell your soul for a few dollars, I hope you sleep well at night. Yeah. I sleep good. Okay, mm-hmm. I sleep real good. Because that's not what I set out to do. We were offered millions, okay? We were offered millions, to give what they wanted. One guy even told us, we don't care if it's true or not. But coming from you guys, people will believe it and the story will sell. No. I like sleeping real good on my little cushion top mattress. I want to have a good night's sleep. And I only do that because I did not sell out. So. Yeah,
a lot of with you and a lot of the authors, a lot of the chat's going crazy. They're saying, yes, Bill, you didn't sell out. And, a lot of the people that we talk to, they always have such an uphill battle getting these positive books published. And it says so much. And, fans will always support you if you have stories to shut to. It's almost like people want him to be guilty. They want the children to have been hurt. It's mm-hmm. really,
because that's what was published. You gotta understand, that is what the media covered. Mm-hmm. They didn't cover you didn't hear too much about the $300 million he gave out in charity.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You didn't hear about that. Okay. And that was continuously. That was even when he was going through his trials and tribulations, because he had already set up automatic funds to go to certain charities this is automatic. These are things that just go to them automatic. It's like we set up automatic banking on our banking to pay our bills. He had automatic payments sent to a lot of charitable organizations. You won't hear about that. That's the side media they don't want to talk about that. But we have to change that. I think the fans have certainly changed that. I'm gonna continue to do what I can do to change that, but we have to change that narrative, especially with this whole, like, I mean, shit, I didn't get a call from HBO, to be part of, hey, I mean, even when a lot of these, when they even did that story, they say they reached out to the individuals they needed to reach out to. I didn't get that call. They didn't want to hear from me because I'm going to debunk all that bullshit. Birthday party.
You have.
Who? Wait, who? No, I don't know that boy.
Yeah.
He never went to the house. No way.
His name would still be in my phone if I knew him.
Yeah.
Okay, so no, I don't know that boy, and therefore he didn't go through me. So it's just, but that's not the story people wanted. I knew it would fade. It would fade, but there's still, like you said, there's still individuals out there that want to believe it's true because they were convinced. And now we have to try to convince them otherwise. Honestly, for me, I'm not really trying to convince people to think differently. I just want to put my story out there and you think what you want.
That's right. And the good thing about the good thing about your story, and we'll get back to these questions too, because everyone has their question. The good thing about your story, your book, is that I think because there's been so much negative press about Michael, so much of that good stuff has been suppressed. There's still positive stories out there that we'll never know because they never got the attention that they should have. It's always such a focus on the negativity. And that's why when I read your book and I hear these stories talking to you here now, I'm like, we would have never known this. We would have never known this. All these questions that we have for you, the things that you wrote in your book, that kind of stuff continues to be suppressed. It's not getting the attention because everything else just takes precedence. Like people just don't have time for it, and that's what upsets me. And that's why we're so committed to getting these like lost stories and these suppressed stories about Michael out.
After Leaving Neverland, this year or the last since that aired, I think there's a newfound interest maybe from people or new fans or whatever. Like it's just it's invoked a passion and just a strong sense of wanting to fight for the justice of it, and so I think this the next little while will be a lot of these stories of people wanting to come out and say, hey, no, that's not right, this is actually how it was, and these stories are what we need to get out there.
Absolutely.
I hope so. And I hope more people who knew him start stepping out and talking about what he really was, because I've seen the Chris Tucker interviews, the Eddie Griffin interviews, and that those are great, but there's not enough of them.
Not enough of those. Not. I mean, the Staples Center was full. Okay. It was full. So I wonder where are these individuals now? Which, hey, if they don't want to speak up, that's on them. But we're doing it here. Fans will keep going. I'm definitely gonna keep going. And I think eventually, like you said, people hopefully some of these upper media locations will leech on and want to know more about him on that side and erase all that other drama, because I wouldn't be speaking on him or of him the way I do if I thought any of that was true.
Yeah.
And I believe the time I spent around him, I would have noticed something that wasn't right. And then, I can honestly feel good that, no, he was cool. He was a good dude. He was a good man. He was a good person. And
you just know. And
you just know. You just know. That's all. Right.
So about your career, to get back to the question, about your career, you did executive security, personal security to the stars, not just Michael Jackson, but other celebrities as well. Someone here, Katrina Gallen, said that you did security for Whitney Houston at some point. Yes. And we know that Whitney and Michael, they had a friendship earlier on, maybe in the late 80s, early 90s. Did Michael ever mention Whitney in conversation to you?
No, not to me.
Okay,
So,
just curious.
Okay.
All right, Tammy, it's all yours.
Okay, so I have a question from Rebecca Harris. So she's talking about, she said, the bodyguard that didn't take part in the book, Mike, she's thinking. He mentioned Michael taking Paris and Prince to see Body Works and how Michael made a point of pointing out the diseased hearts of smokers. Were you there that day?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So,
Yeah, we went to the Bodies exhibit here in Las Vegas. And I don't know if anybody who's ever been there or not, they do show real human bodies, internals. It shows the effects on people's lungs, bad lungs, good lungs, a smoker's lung, cancerous lungs. And that was one of his things. But I remember that was a school project for the kids, but that he went along with because we went with the school teacher. But that was part of the educational structure of the kids.
okay.
And Mr. Jackson did point out people's, the bad signs of people's bodies. Again, it just showed lungs and heart and livers, and it just showed, it grossed me out, but it was something he pointed out and made a reference of taking care of your bodies and eating right.
So that goes to the next question too. She says, do you recall any health or other life teachings Michael wanted to instill into his children other than being polite, etc.?
Eating right. Eating right. We there was like times when during the week we would hear the kids that they would request, they would say they want hamburgers or they want McDonald's or something like, and he'll say, no, we don't eat that. We don't eat that during the week. Okay, we don't eat that during the week. Maybe Saturday or something like that. But a lot of their meals was certainly fresh prepared by a chef during the week, better yet. Freshly prepared, organic ingredients. But he was very health conscious into eating right. And he often said that to us, make sure you guys eat something nourishing. Even when he gave money out to homeless people, he would say, make sure you eat something nourishing. So that was certainly his health consciousness. And certainly when he spoke to his kids, he would, sometimes he would tell them to speak, tell them to say goodnight, tell them goodbye, go shake his hand, so he was teaching his kids to that positive mannerism. But I honestly wish a lot of which I witnessed that some of his fans was able to see it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
She has her questions quite involved. They have a little bit more here. She recalls Michael saying that he did not want the kids watching MTV or anything else particularly adult until they were 16. I wonder if Bill saw the children having their television, music, etc. regulated. What did Michael like them watching? Did they watch much television? Yeah, like they had Blanket, when he was called, and he had a loved old film noir movie watching with their dad. And then Prince watching LOTR with dad. I don't know
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Lord of the Rings, right.
But what couldn't they watch?
Yeah, what couldn't they watch?
Strict about that, right?
I know they did not watch a lot of TV. That was just a given. It never really explained why. Which is being whenever we went to a Barnes and Noble or a Best Buy, he'd buy loads and loads of DVDs. Okay, movies. Because you get a DVD, you know exactly what you're gonna see. It's not gonna cut into some news that we don't want to see.
Yeah.
Even himself, I remember when I was given a magazine article, It was something positive that was written about him. And it was sent to me, and I was told to give this to Mr. Jackson. And I remember the morning I got up and went to his house and told Mr. Jackson I had a magazine, and I had it opened up to the page that spoke of him. And as I started to hand it to him, I said, Mr. Jackson, Ramon asked me to give this to you. When he saw that it was a magazine, he stepped back and said, is it okay for me to read that?
Wow. Yeah.
Like he knew of so much that was out there,
Yep.
that was being written. So times in which we used to go into a bookstore and the kid, he would tell us to go first, but it became routine. But the first few times he would tell us to go in the bookstore first and make sure there's nothing in there about him. So we would go in there, we would see magazines with him on the cover, and we'd just turn them around to the back page, or we would just take them all off the shelf, because we didn't want his kids to see none of this.
No.
Yeah.
We didn't want his kids to see the wacko jacko headlines and none of that. So we just took all those magazines off the shelf before the kids came in behind us. So he shielded them from things like that. As for, again, the original question of what could they not watch, they didn't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
A couple more questions for you. It's been long here, but this is from Lizzie Llewellyn. What was your favorite memory with Michael and his kids? What was the most impactful memory that you and Michael shared?
Several moments. To think back on, it was just amazing for me, something that I've never heard. You don't hear written, you don't hear being talked about, was just him as a father. I think back on the conversations they had and how they talked about just life in general, where they talked about when the kids would tell them or tell him what they learned in school that day. Just to hear that conversation, people do not hear this. They don't report this. So those are the memories that stick with me, that it's like a secret that should not be a secret.
Yeah.
Everyone should know. Everyone should know him on that side of being a father, being concerned. Paris, he never wanted her to be a tomboy, though she was around a bunch of boys and men. Her two brothers, her father, and security team, all men. He didn't want her to fall into that tomboyish thing, so he would often take her out one-on-one, just her, and they would go get some ice cream. We would go to a toy store. He'd buy her a bunch of girly toys, and he wanted that of her. He wanted that. Paris was the apple of his eye. Okay, she really was, and we seen that. That was a daddy's girl.
Definitely.
That was a daddy's girl. When Paris's mood was not good, it messed up everything. She was not happy. If her two brothers, maybe she got into a little fight with them. If her mood was not as bright as her eyes were, there was a problem. We had to fix this. Bill, I need you to go out and buy one of those big lollipops. The ones at the circus that goes round and round and round.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm saying to myself, where am I going to find one of these lollipops? I went all over looking for this I found it though.
Wow.
I found one.
Nice.
So, and the whole kitten story was another thing. I had to get this kitten, because if I didn't, the mood of Paris was not going to be good. And
that was so stressful from the story. I remember reading, I was stressed out.
You imagine how I felt. Yeah. So, but I knew that was a daddy's girl. And I put in that extra effort at being a single father at the time and having a daughter And my daughter, there's nothing I wouldn't do for her. So I understood that. You know, we can tell little boys not today, because if you tell them, nope, you can't have it, not today, you expect them to just man up. Little girls, daddy's got to come through for the little girl. So, and that was his thing, to ensure we came through for her. Because again, she was around all these boys and men, and you know, he wanted to ensure that she wasn't left out.
Oh,
So
I love that.
Yeah. Okay.
A quick question. Are you getting a lot of questions?
Huh?
Are you getting a lot of questions?
We have what? Well, we have 3 more left, Tammy.
Oh, I was curious. I'm just curious.
3 more that we got from before, and then I have one that I got from the chat.
Oh, okay. No, I was just curious, you know, how are people contacting you, and are they, you know,
Yeah,
asking
yeah,
what they're
they have
saying?
questions.
For their questions.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, okay.
For that,
They do.
sorry.
Actually, I'll throw one in. before I forget.
I'm just curious.
Because I want to know this one too. So I live in Virginia right now, Virginia, DC area, and there's a couple people in our chat from that area, and we love the story of him going to Virginia, the colonial area, and we wanted to know, like, how did he pick that area of all the places, all the way on the East Coast? He came to Virginia. Like, what did he think? Because he was in Manassas, which is like not far from me either. That's so cool to read that.
Well, I do know going back east was part of the whole plan of the things he had to do back east. One was certainly, you know, it was a vacation time where the kids were concerned. And you know, it was vacation time, but it's also, the shoot was part of going back east. The Ebony shoot, the Italian Vogue shoot. Right. He had a couple of meetings in DC with attorneys. So there was a lot going on that he had itinerary wise back east. So we looked for, I was sent maybe 20 different houses back east, homes for him to rent out. And he would, you know, and I went online, brought a laptop, sat down with him and scrolled through the homes, the rooms, the areas of each of these properties, where would he like to go, which one he was more interested in. So when we went back east, we did visit a couple of properties, because the idea was he was going to purchase a home back east. But how we ended up in Middleburg, Virginia, after seeing that property, the layout, the seclusiveness of it, it was perfect for him.
Oh yeah, it was Middleburg.
That was perfect.
Oh,
I don't know if you've ever been there.
He liked it? He liked Virginia?
Oh yeah. Loved it.
Yay.
Loved it. Oh, well, we had a great time back there. We had some moments back there that it was, you know, he used to take walks at night by himself. That's how secluded it was. And there was one night, I think I spoke on it before, probably, and I seen him walking one night. I didn't know it was him. Okay, he was walking one night. I didn't know it was him. And he almost got hurt.
Oh gosh.
So, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was late. It was late at night too. Like late, like after midnight.
So we have I think I have just one more question from somebody. Not my question again. Okay, so this is from Nicole Akins. She says, I saw an old interview before the book was written that you originally wanted to call it Defending the King. Can we ask why they didn't go with that title and why they changed to Remember the Time?
Originally, when we were reaching out, trying to find publishers, you know, to help us get our book published. And yes, the original title was Defending the King, because I did feel that that's what we were doing, you know, defending him. And we did get contacted by an individual, a woman, that said that she was going to help us write the book. And she even said that she would even finance it. you know, the whole project. We was great, okay, and they said that they were a writer, so I would send them, as I wrote a few pages, I'd send to them for them to make it more reader friendly, correct grammar and all that stuff to make it clarity wise. And again, I was only sending them a little bit of information at a time as I was writing. They took what I wrote. They took what I wrote and turned it into a book.
Oh,
We
oh
weren't
my
even,
gosh, we didn't know that.
we weren't even done writing. I mean, and we finally, they said they were gonna come to Vegas to meet with us so we could sit down and continue to talk about this project and continue writing. Great. They came to Vegas, and when they came to Vegas and they gave myself and Javon books. Like, I'm like, what is this? There's like, this is your book. What? But we're not done. Well, how? They took what we wrote and turned it into a book.
Oh.
No way.
It's online.
And it's, oh,
Wow, guys.
It's online.
right.
That was I'm gonna tell you, that was heartbreaking. That was really heartbreaking, and we had to deal. We had to have some. We had to spend. We had to spend some of our personal money for legal stuff.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Terrible.
Yeah. So
Oh.
but it made me feel like this is what Mr. Jackson went through.
That's on a
That's what it did. It made me
on
feel
a
like
huge
this is
scale.
what he went through. Yeah, this is what he
Yeah.
went through. And yeah, they and you will know what's so crazy. I seen that individual at the memorial, not the memorial, I'm sorry, last year at Forest
Forest
Lawn.
Lawn.
Oh.
They didn't see me.
Wow.
And to be honest with you, I was there for a little while and talking to fans and meeting people. And when I seen that person, I left. It made me leave. It took it out of me. It just took, I gotta go. And I left, you know.
So they used some your whatever pages you wrote. They
I
used.
can't even.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, everyone's saying everyone is in shock, and you know they're saying sorry. This is such an invasion. I mean that's like, it's right what you said. I mean, you got like a little taste of some of the things that Michael went through on such
Yeah.
a large scale and so many times.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you were to do a second book, and I know we brought it up already, but what direction would you go this time? Obviously, you would keep it to yourself, keep it between you and your publisher, but kind of you have an idea of what direction you want to take it in this time?
It would be a continuation of, you know, certainly not leading up to the ending that was there, but it would just be a continuation of speaking the normalcy of what I witnessed, what I shared, and who he was, and some of the events and things that we took place, and some of the things that he and I spoke of. But it would just be more of a continuation of sharing information that I believe his fans would like to know. So
And debunking the Leaving Neverland lead guy there.
oh, you know, yeah, that it was certainly with things that, especially that whole, was it Leaving? I can't even remember the name of that movie. That what do we call it again? What's the word?
Mockumentary.
Mockumentary. There you go.
Yeah.
That mockumentary. I would definitely use that word.
Yeah.
I would say thanks to YouTube. The mockumentary, I would put my spin on the debunking that to, like, well, this is my rebuttal, because it feels like that's what it has to be done.
Yeah.
We have to, so we have to go down timelines as best I could, but only thing I can really speak on is the birthday party that these individuals say they was at. A lot of situations, enough of that a lot of things that they speak on, was way before my time, but all I could do is speak on the individual that I knew and why I believe a lot of those stories are false.
Right.
So,
I think I have a last question, Tammy. Do you have any?
There's a couple. There's this one from I think continuation from Nicole Egan's. Just
Okay. Yeah.
there. Okay, so sorry. Just about the third bodyguard. Are you able to elaborate why the third bodyguard is not in the book at all? I understand there's a disagreement about divulging certain information. That was her question. And yeah, and whether Michael was paranoid in the last years of his life, and if that's why that contributed to distance in his family. That was her question, and then I'm done.
wait, there's two questions there?
Kind of, sorry. So the one is, the third bodyguard that's not part of the book is, she wants just if you could elaborate why he's not part of it, or you don't have to if you don't want to, it's up to you.
Oh, no. I mean, there's a lot that I will not say.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, I don't want to bring any negative opinions on an individual, that has not lashed out to Mr. Jackson, so, but as for that situation, why that the third individual was not part of the book, during the process, there was some discussions, and there was a difference of opinions of the direction the book should go. There was a difference of opinion of what we should talk about, what we should discuss. There was a difference of opinion of the offers in which we should or should not take to do the project. So there was some difference of opinions, and I felt that, or we felt that because we are not on the same page, that we would not adventure into this project together.
Right.
So it was just a mutual, you go do it your way, I'm going to do it my way. So.
Makes sense.
So the last one she has, and this is Nicole as well, about whether he was distrustful of people and a little bit on the paranoid side. Is, from the book, it seemed that he's a little bit nervous about certain people and checking the doors. And we know that after a while he was better with, he trusted your protecting him. But do you think that that's why the family that contributed to the distance between his family and himself?
I did notice, and we've had some conversations on certain individuals that Mr. Jackson did not feel comfortable around. There was times that he didn't meet. I don't want to name these people at this moment, but there were times that he met with certain individuals. And mind you, my job was to be his personal security, ensure of his health and well-being. Anytime that he had a meeting with someone, I gave him his space. This is business. They're here to discuss whatever. I would step away or not even be in the same room. Okay. But there were times that he'd be meeting with someone or have a meeting with someone. He would tell me, Bill, I want you to stay in this meeting. And I would say, you sure, sir? Yes. For him to say that to me, I understood what he meant.
Right.
He didn't feel comfortable being around this individual, and I wasn't sure if it was just a physical uncomfortable, but I think it was more of what these people might say to him. Okay, and Mr. Jackson was very easy. He was persuaded a lot to do things. whether they were appearances or projects.
Mhm.
You know, he was somewhat easy to want to do things. You know, if it was a project and, you know, whether it's a meet and greet or something, because some of these people that he had in his circle were people that needed him to validate their service with others.
Right.
Mm.
He wanted
Okay.
something to happen.
They needed him. They needed, I mean, we didn't have to go to DC and spend 11 hours in a lawyer's office. We didn't have to do that. But we did because some of these lawyers needed him to validate who they were to those law firms.
Mhm.
If you could walk
Wow.
into your law firm with Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
this is validating you. If you're trying to get a partnership in an attorney's firm, you about to get it because
Mhm.
you got Michael Jackson with you right now. So, so it,
Yeah. All right. Well, I have one more question. I think Tammy, are you have
I'm done. Yeah.
right? I have one more that came in from Twitter and Facebook. People want to know, and a lot of people ask this actually. They want to know if you could sum up Michael in 1 or 2 sentences as a person and why you continue to defend him. I think that's a nice way for us to close out this conversation, unless you want to tell us anything else. How would you just sum him up? I know that's hard.
it is
Sorry.
hard, but I'm gonna make it brief. I defend him because of one word: innocent.
Give me chills.
Yeah,
Innocent.
just like that.
It's and that's really the defense that I have of him. Is people have bashed him so much. People have accused him of, I think, the worst crime that a man could do. And having been there, having been around him, you know, people, you know, I hear so much about, well, you weren't there at the time of these accusations was going on. Yeah, if that is who he was 10 years ago or at the time, if that's who he was, that is who he would still be. Okay, that is who he would still be. That wouldn't have changed. You know, if you're a drug addict, you're a drug addict. If you're an alcoholic, you're an alcoholic. All that is going to show in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not in huge forms, but it would have showed itself in some form. I seen none of that. It was a complete opposite. I seen the real story. So for me to sum up in one word at this time, why I do what I do: innocent.
Wow. That's, yeah, like Tammy said, that gave me chills and really effective and very powerful. And everyone's saying, well spoken, Bill. That was perfect, perfect words. And
So
you know, there's still
whatever else.
Yeah,
so the questions from the fans are over, I believe.
Yeah, I think we got pretty much everything. And there's just still so much we don't know that we're waiting and excited for you to shed some light on. You know, you always have the support of the fans if you decide to put something out, and just let us know. And we put the website to your book again on this announcement of this live stream.
Great.
And so if you all, you know, I know some of you got the book last time during the first call, the first broadcast, but you know, now's your time to get it if you didn't have a chance before. And is it still autographed by you? Because a lot of people
still autographed. Yes,
okay.
It is. And
Yes.
let me just say that since the last interview, I received enough book orders that we was able to contribute 300 face masks to the local emergency hospitals and care centers around here, we was able to pass out 227 lunches to a lot of nurses that, you know, worked those long hours during the whole COVID situation. And we also gave out 137 meals to the homelessness.
Oh,
So we're still,
you guys did that.
yeah,
Guys.
I personally do this. Out there, I don't, or have not publicized it, because that's not what it's about. That's not, for me, that's not what it's about. I mean, again, I've watched Mr. Jackson pass out money to people. There were no cameras around, no media. So I do what I do, what comes from, not only from my heart, but comes from what Mr. Jackson has somewhat passed down to me as an individual, because, you know, you can always feel that you're missing or you're going without something in life. If you see somebody sleeping on the street, you have more than they do.
Right.
So let's not complain when we have a roof over our heads and fresh water running through our households, when individuals are out there really struggling. So I do what I do with him in mind, but I do it from the support of the fans that contribute to book sales. And yes, I personally autograph each book. I personally ship and stamp, print out
Wow.
stamps and postage.
Oh,
I
my
do all that
God.
myself. I mean,
Just so you know, when people start getting your book in the mail, they were posting it on
Yeah,
social media,
I've
on
seen it.
Twitter and Facebook.
I've seen
People,
it.
it's just such a personal touch. And, you know, I got mine. I was excited too. Where is mine? Where is it? I have it.
Got your book, there it is.
Okay.
Did Tammy get her? Did Tammy?
She's running. She ran to get
Oh,
hers.
there she go. There it is. Okay, great. That's great.
Yes.
That
I
is
have
great.
also another copy of the
That is great. That is great. That is great. That's why I do what I do. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I look forward to this. I'm hoping that this COVID stuff will be at a lower minimal at this point in time, because I would love to make it out to Forest Lawn this year for his birthday. It is my intention. I do believe I will still go regardless. You know, I've been there before where I was the only one there before. I've been there on days in which I'm only 3 hours away. And I've gotten my car and made the ride and going out there and walked around. So, and it's never for me, I'm not a picture person. I'm not doing it, you know, if I get caught out there in pictures, great. But I'm not one to, hey, take my picture. That's just not how I get down. You know, I do things for self. People often ask me, did I hang out with him and take pictures? I said, listen, everything photographed I got right here. You can't take this picture away from me. Okay, so, and that's that.
Oh my goodness. Actually, yeah, there actually aren't a lot of pictures out there of you and Michael.
Right.
And, you know, anytime we want to make an announcement about you coming on live, there's only that one, maybe one or two pictures that we use. So
I have a couple other pictures I'll send to you.
Oh, okay.
And I'll send to you. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'll send
Yeah.
to you.
So, I'm so glad that you're able to make it today. I thought that this was like a great weekend for you to choose to come back and talk to us, because so many people do get to see you at Forest Lawn. And this is kind of like, you know, a lot of people couldn't make it this year. And, you know, I know you don't go there for publicity or whatever, but fans love you, bottom line, and they want to take pictures of you. So I'm glad that we were able to do this, and people could still have like some access to you and be able to see you and talk to you on this weekend. So
We
this
can
was
see
great.
what Michael loved about you too. You're so easy to talk to, and it feels like and, you know, and you're such an upstanding man. You know, we really.
Well, I tell you, I've received quite a few interview requests, and if you don't make me feel comfortable, I can't do it. and you've made me feel comfortable enough to want to do it, especially a second time around. I must feel comfortable. So, yeah, I don't just jump on every request that's out there, because I know certain people have hit me with the trial, the drug questions. I'm not going there with you. I will hang up on you. Okay. I hung up on, I did an interview with TMZ, and it was a live interview via laptop, and all they wanted to do was talk about drugs. And I closed the laptop on Harvey. Wow. And it was live, and they were talking about, did they lose connection? No, you didn't lose connection. You got terminated.
On your ass.
Fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? So
that is so good. That is so.
Love that TMZ. Michael would love that you hung up on TMZ.
He would love
absolutely.
that.
Smiling on you.
Oh my gosh.
But the producer was standing by. She said, "Oh my God, we was on live." I said, "Well, we're not now."
That is priceless. That is just. That is everything.
You're not going to talk. You're not going to talk negative about him. Not to me, and not. Not to me, and not. You're not. I will not allow it.
Wow. Well, we are so honored. I would say, if we could describe you in one word, I would just be honorable. Honorable, just honor. And to have you here and to have you trust us, that honors us. So, just thank you. And was there anything else you wanted to share with us, or Tammy? Was there anything else?
No, I'm
Bill.
All about Bill. Whatever you want to say, we're here for you.
I'll just say we'll do this again.
Oh,
we'll do this again. We'll do this again. I mean, we have to. We have to. This is what continues the legacy.
Yeah.
This is what I appreciate the questions from the fans, because that tells me they want to continue the legacy. Instead of just pushing it off into some corner somewhere and just letting it be. And, people say, allow him to rest in peace. No, I say allow him to rest joyfully. Okay, and the way we do that is we continue to talk about who he was as a man, as a person, as a father, of the individual he was not allowed or permitted to speak of, him as that individual, being a father. So it's up to me to speak on what I witnessed, to bring light to who he was. Right. And we'll do that. We'll continue to do this. I mean, I'm not going to stop.
We're not going to stop either.
We're not going to stop. So we're here for you to do that anytime.
Well, I'm here for you.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you both.
I can't wait to meet you. I want to go to Vegas or Forest Lawn or whatever.
Where are you, Tammy, where are you from?
I'm from Canada, Manitoba.
Okay.
Boring, flat province of all.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, hopefully one day, I've never been to Forest Lawn, so it would be great to one day go and just be able to pay my respects and meet everyone, all these beautiful members of our club, and to meet you. That would be a dream. So, but
we'll make it happen.
Thank you. And
we'll make it happen.
We'll have you on here again, and just let us know when you're ready.
Thank you.
We'll set it up. So everyone, thank you guys for joining us.
Bottom of our hearts.
Thank you all for being here and asking your questions and sending them in. And I'll just say good night and bye to everyone.
Before we hang up, I want to ask you, can you see what's behind me?
I can see Invincible, and you got Off the Wall CDs, and Bad, and in History, Dangerous.
I meant to ask you last time. I'm glad you brought it up.
I'm gonna try to bring it closer.
Yeah.
A fan base sent this to me.
Oh. What? Oh my gosh.
Oh, nice.
It's all CDs. I don't have anything like that.
Those are all albums.
Yes. Wow, the way it's set up, that's beautiful.
Yeah, fans sent me that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you mean a lot to the fans, Bill.
Yeah.
See, it's not, you shouldn't be surprised.
These are my collection down here I got from my fans in China.
Oh.
We
Bill,
can
is
see
your
all that
book
stuff.
is your book available in other languages?
You know, unfortunately, it is not. We would love for it to be. I've gotten a lot of off acts from Brazil, from China.
Oh,
But if we had publishers that was willing to give us a chance to do that, it would be great. But it's
oh,
my only supporters of the book has been the fans. And honestly, I'm fine with that. But I just wish that there was some publishers that would take the chance and spread it to, because I know he has plenty of other fans worldwide. I sent a book to. I sent a couple copies to the Philippines. I sent one to Iraq,
wow.
Norway. I sent all over the world. So I just wish that there were some publishers that would take that chance to want to put in another language. And I push for it, and I'm gonna continue to push for it. So we'll see what happens.
Oh.
You have it in just English then, not in France or in Europe or?
You know, there is I believe France.
Okay, yeah, I would think that the France.
Yes, France. Yes.
Oh, good.
So, but I know we would love to get it in Spanish as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Through the work that we do here, hopefully someone will pick it up and want to do it.
Wow. There's there's a lot of there's a lot of fan support for that kind of thing. I know we just had Aphrodite Jones, the investigative reporter, on, and she had a documentary out there, and she was like, oh, it hasn't been translated. And little did she know the fans had already translated it for her. So it's, there's options out there. There's resources.
Okay.
There's
So
a
documentary too, Bill. We'll help you. We'll help you with whatever we need to help you with.
All right, we'll keep that in mind, and we'll see. I'll be in touch and see what we can do.
Yeah, there's people in the chat saying there's someone that they know in China that could get you a translator in China. People are even, I don't know, you don't have to respond to this, but they're asking if you have a PO box that they could send you a gift. Some people are saying that they're just so grateful that you're here with us, and they're saying thank you. And if you don't have time for this, that's okay. But since you showed us some of that stuff, they were saying, is there anything that Michael gave you personally that you happen to have on hand that you could show us? And if not, that's okay. Maybe next time.
Next time.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll remind you of that.
I do.
Okay.
Okay. I do. I even still have personal effects of his.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes, I have personal effects of his that only got kind of lost in transition when we were moving from one house to the other. And the truck was so full of some of his items when I brought the trucks home, because I had to bring his trucks back home to my house. The trucks were so full, in order for us to go back the next day to get him, I had to take everything out his truck and put in my house until we were ready to move somewhere, because we didn't have a stable home at the time. Going from hotels or whatever. But I still have some personal items. I do have some gifts that he'd given me. I have a watch that he bought for my birthday.
Wow.
So I have some things, and I'll be more than happy to show those to some people.
We would love that.
Yeah.
We would enjoy that. Yes, please do that. I'll remind you next time. We'll remind you.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Bill.
I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay. And now we're off the air, but definitely we'll stay in touch, Bill. And
Absolutely.
thank you.
I'm gushing. I always gush for hours after he's like, oh, he's so sweet.
I know, we're always so on a high after we talk to you.
Great.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, this is keeping his legacy alive, to speak on it, to talk on it. And, there's a lot of memories. I have a lot of memories that come back